So what was the motivation behind the research paper?
The motivation behind the research paper was to bridge the gap in misunderstanding between Muslims and non-Muslims. So on one end of the spectrum, we have non-Muslims who have certain stereotypes and misperceptions of Islam as being somehow incompatible with the values that are found in Britain and the values that are found in America. And my previous research was showing that Prophet Muhammad specifically was fostering ideas that are definitely compatible with the things that British citizens and American citizens stand for. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have Muslims, and I think this is quite evident in the media. We have Muslims attacking minority communities, attacking Muslims, attacking Christians, attacking all sorts of non-Muslim communities. And again, my research is showing that these type of actions and these type of activities are not in line with the vision that I see Prophet Muhammad having for the Ummah.
Right. And you did the research on this paper, and I've read it myself, a very fascinating piece of research that I think a lot of people can learn from. Can you walk us through the journey you went through this research and expand on what you discovered? What did you find the most fascinating or surprising?
Surely. So it started with a book authored by John Andrew Morrow. And John is a professor here in the States. And the book was called The Covenants of Prophet Muhammad with the Christians of the World. And I saw this book before it was released, and it caught my attention. And I contacted John. John ended up sending me a copy of the book, and I reviewed it. And the content of the book blew me away. And it was documenting the actual covenants themselves, so the primary sources that Prophet Muhammad had authored. So I engaged with the primary documents, and I came to realize something that I think is the crucial point in the research. And it is this. It's that Prophet Muhammad was not simply tolerating Christian communities. He was actively engaging with Christian communities. He was actively respecting and protecting and bridging this idea that Christians and Muslims are actually cousins. They're actually distant brothers and sisters. So I think that the main issue here, and let me be clear, there's a difference between tolerance, religious tolerance, and religious pluralism. Religious tolerance is simply saying, to each his own. We respect you, and you can believe in what you want to believe. But religious pluralism is an active engagement between human beings, between communities. So we're talking about visiting each other's churches, attending different religious places of worship. All of these active things that are key in terms of building stronger relations between different religious communities.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. And what do you think that the mainstream media can really learn from this, from the message that Prophet Muhammad had at the time, 1400 years later? What can the mainstream media learn from this?
Well, I think there's a huge responsibility on the media to share a different type of narrative outside of what we see coming out of ISIS, right? So ISIS is on the opposite spectrum of Prophet Muhammad and his vision. So the media has an opportunity to share these documents, to share the research paper, and to really challenge both Muslims and non-Muslims to think about Prophet Muhammad's example and his legacy and his vision, not only for Islam, but for humanity. I mean, these documents are egalitarian, they're democratic, they're liberal, they're pluralistic. And if the media is serious about bridging the gap between Muslims and non-Muslims, then they really should focus on these documents because they provide a lot of hope. They provide hope for coexistence. They provide hope for peace and generally a better world.
So do you think the media has an active role here to play?
Absolutely. And it's a challenge for the media because this is a message of peace that Prophet Muhammad is providing humanity. And peace is not always a subject that is, I suppose, conducive to the sensationalism that we find in the media. But at the same time, the media has the obligation to share other stories outside of the extremist, outside of the Islamophobia, outside of the ISIS. So they really do need to plug this Prophet Muhammad's egalitarian, tolerant, pluralistic vision to the people. And I think it will resonate with the people.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a paradigm of human rights and respecting each other's rights, it seems.
It is fundamentally that. And I think this idea of human rights is a fundamental component of Prophet Muhammad's covenants with the Christians. He actively, I mean, if you read the documents, he is saying, we are not impinging upon anyone's religious rights. We are not trying to convert anyone. We are not trying to take over churches. So everything that ISIS is doing is completely outside of the boundaries of these covenants. And Prophet Muhammad is actually saying that our Ummah, our Islamic State, is not simply for Muslims only. It's an idea that anyone can belong to an Islamic State. Anyone can be a part of this idea of a Muslim nation. So really, if we step back and we think about this, Prophet Muhammad was fostering ideas that were found in America 1,400 years later. This idea that anyone can become an American citizen or anyone can be a British citizen. It doesn't matter what ethnic background, what racial background, what religious background you are. He created a state bent on citizenship, right? And the citizenship was ingrained in this idea of religious freedom and tolerance and pluralism.
So a lot of the same values that Americans hold today.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd say the better side of America. I mean, we have the rise of Donald Trump, which is very, very problematic and very, very concerning. And even in addition to Donald Trump, we have politicians like Ted Cruz, who just yesterday is calling for the patrol of these so-called Muslim no-go zones in America, which arguably don't even exist. But this is a real opportunity for followers of these two politicians and this type of mentality to look at these documents and to reimagine Islam and to reimagine Prophet Muhammad's vision in a way that can be integrated into this lofty idea of Western life. Like there's nothing incompatible about what Prophet Muhammad was envisioning with the founding of America and British values as well.
Yes, exactly. And finally, what can Muslim nations learn from all this discovery of these documents that had been found in lost scriptures, it would seem?
Well, I think the document that I wrote focused on two things. One, religious freedom, and the second is civic rights. In terms of religious freedom, there is nothing in the covenants themselves. And if we really take an honest, objective look at Islamic scripture and the Quran and the Hadiths, we have so many examples of religious freedom. So Islamic states really need to, so-called Islamic states, Muslim nations around the world need to follow this example, and they need to be more open to otherness, more open to difference, and they need to respect the rights of religious minorities. And then having a stronger sense of what it means to be a citizen of these countries. And my argument in the paper was that Prophet Muhammad did not consider members of the Muslim state, the Islamic State or the Ummah, to have a Muslim identity. That's not what he was intending to do. He was trying to create a type of community that I think was more centered around brotherhood, more centered around humanity, a sort of color blindness